Kobe, I have to tell you a secret.
What's that, Barry?
I'm a part of 641 different podcasts, but you're still my favorite. That's such a... That would have been heartbreaking as well, though.
It is, yeah. Yep.
What's going on, guys? My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the third week of
I Love AI Month.
Whew. Yep. And this week, we're not going to use a Chat GPT script. I always feel like reading from a script kind of takes away from like the natural like fluidity.
Right.
And I would rather you guys hear me stumble and mumble.
Right. The lack of flow that I have. It's like, I like it when I ask Kobe a question and there's dead air for 7 seconds before he answers.
He fills it up with the uhs.
Yeah, right. Yep.
But for
hey, was totally different subject. The radio growing up here used to have like a call in, and they would give you a random subject, and you had to talk about it for 60 seconds, and you couldn't say
Oh.
or you lost. And if you made it 60 seconds without saying or then you won like concert tickets.
Oh.
And I found a trick, and it's basically saying but it's not
Per se.
if you talk in a accent. Your body is so concentrated on making sure your words are on the accent that you avoid the ums.
Oh, yeah, because it's funny enough, we knew somebody that actually grew up in a household where their grandmother would not let them say yeah. But what are they also called? Like they're called, like, there's like a linguistics term for it, but it's like, I would just call them filler words just because of anime. Like, those are like filler episodes. And
yes.
Those are just filler words. You're just trying to fill the time. Right.
You want to make a sound while you're thinking, so the person that you're talking to knows you're still talking. Yeah. In the 80s, you had the girls who were like the Valley Girls, and they'd be like, yeah. And they would fill that little spot in with like.
Yeah, and I absolutely hate that. Like,
Yeah, then you get like, that's a double. That's a double spacer.
But we're going to go to our first segment where I Dr. Seuss you guys a trailer to introduce the movie that we're doing today. I hope there's no thing she keeps from me. This sweet voice constantly next to me. All I could do is wonder how she's a million miles away, and that she could possibly be gone any day. And that keeps me in a constant daze and in a blur, that I fear that I'll be losing her. Today we're talking about her from 2013, starring Scarlett Johansson, the voice of Scarlett Johansson, Joaquin Phoenix,
yep,
Amy Adams, Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I didn't even
forget. I didn't recognize him till like the third time he showed up, and I was like, is that Star-Lord?
No, the moment I heard his voice behind the desk, I was like, oh my God, Chris Pratt is in here. Also, Rooney Mara, I forgot that she was in here as well. And a couple of people that you might know, like Bill Hader.
Bill Hader's in it?
But he's a chat room friend voice. Yeah, Olivia Wilde, Spike Jonze as the voice of the little toy that he plays with.
Right, he's also the director.
Yeah, the director, and it's
Being John Malkovich is another one of his movies. That's probably his most famous movie. So just kind of throw that out there.
I think this movie is on a lot of people's top 10 lists.
I never heard of this movie till I started compiling the list of movies for this month.
Oh yeah, I watched this in theaters. I watched it like with my best friend, and we're just like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix seems like a pretty interesting premise. We didn't know we were walking into one of the best breakup movies ever. You know, we're in there watching the movie, and sometimes I kind of felt eyes on me, like, we're not together
anymore.
After this movie. I actually picked up some pretty interesting trivia, but we'll save it for the end of it.
Okay.
But yeah, let's start this movie. We start off with a pretty close-up shot of Joaquin Phoenix. He's saying something, and it kind of seems like it's not for him, because he's like, well, we've been together for 50 years. And I'm like, man, medical has gone.
Right. I'm like, oh, man, this is in the future when everybody looks great for their age.
But we see that on this, he's actually talking to his computer, and it's writing a letter in someone else's handwriting, which is kind of scary. But and we kind of get a premise of what's actually going on. He's working in this huge office, beautiful office, wide open spaces. I mean, it's still cubicles, but it doesn't feel as confining as a cubicle would look like.
Right. Yeah. Little half cubicles.
Yeah. You know, just to make you feel like you're not trapped. Not like an office space. But we get a pretty early on indication of what kind of person Theodore is, played by Joaquin Phoenix. He puts on his ear pod. He tells his like notepad looking telephone. It doesn't even look like a telephone anymore.
Right.
But everything is going through this earpiece, and he's like, hey, play some melancholy music. And I'm like, oh, this guy's sad.
Yeah.
You only listen to like melancholy music when you're sad.
And it's the weirdest cue, because like that he says that, and melancholy music starts to play, and it's I don't know if it's just me, but to me that was like, listen to the music that's in the background for the rest of this movie, because it means something.
Yeah. The soundtrack for this whole... Oh, that's what you took away from the first...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why would he say that? Why would he just not put on that?
Yeah.
He actually says it. So to me, he's like, make sure you listen to the music that's behind me from now on.
Oh. Like, it's funny because like the music cues are sometimes orchestrated by the OS that he's with. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good thing. But we see that he's like kind of like just going through his normal commute. He gets a couple of news updates. One about a very beautiful pregnant actress who's taken some sultry photos.
Right, because he's like, it's junk, delete it, and then they say that, and he's like just sits there for a second. And then you see him take out his little phone and like look at the screen.
I don't blame him. But when he gets home, he plays a little video game. It kind of seems like one of those like time wasting video games, like Temple Run.
Right.
But it's pretty interactive. It's really cool, but it's still pretty like rudimentary. Like I would say, like for that type of game, it's like what Super Nintendo is to us. Mm-hmm. Because it's fairly simple graphics, and we do see later indications of what games look like later on, and it seems pretty simple,
right?
You know, but when he gets to bed, though, you get a pretty good sense that this guy's going through stuff. But he goes into, I think, what we used to do in the late '90s, early 2000s. He goes into these auditory chat rooms,
right? Yep.
And it's like, lonely girls can't sleep. I'm like, yeah, I might do that too. But he finally finds one. And it's funny, his username is like Hung Daddy or something like that. what was it?
Stud Daddy or something like
or like Stud Muffin. Yeah. And the girl's like Lonely Kitten or whatever. And they start to have like phone sex. You know, but then it gets really weird really fast.
Right.
What was she saying? Like, choke me with my dead cat or something?
Yep.
And he's completely out of it. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm choking you with the dead cat. And she's just flicking that bean as hard as she
and you can't see her. It's only voice, but it's...
So it makes it extra awkward.
Right?
But the next morning rolls around.
I guess that would have been the like the 900 numbers you used to call the little phone sex numbers. I never caught that. I don't know what you're talking about, but I remember seeing commercials for. We'll go with that.
You know what's really sad is like the older you get, like the more exposed you get to like pornography and stuff. As a man and a woman, you never know, right? That when I started to see those commercials later on, I was like, I'm really sad that I know those porn. They're all porn actresses. Oh man. But the next morning he wakes up and this is where he kind of sees a ad for an operating system, right?
Yeah.
Or he goes to the office.
Well, yeah, he goes to the office and there's basically like a billboard kind of ad for his new operating system. That's super intuitive. Basically, it's
like scary, intuitive, very Hal from Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so after he comes back,
I guess it'd be with replica. For like your little replica app on your phone, like the little
Blade Runner.
Well, the little AI that like talks. It's one of the app that you can download and have like an AI like talk to you. It just texts you and then you like text it back.
It's so sad, like but I understand it. You sometimes you just kind of want someone to talk to,
right? Right. Yeah, especially you're lonely, and you can kind of get a sense that this isn't. The communication now in today is not great. And you could just see that it breaks down a little bit more in whatever this is like 10, 20 years from now. It's in the near future. It doesn't really give you, but.
Yeah, it's funny because like you can tell by the fashion that's happening. It's like modern yet vintage. Mm-hmm. Which completely threw me off. But so he goes home, he starts to put this OS into his computer. It's funny, it's asking him questions, but it cuts him off.
Right. I feel like that's part of it's like it's kind of asking him yes or no questions, and that stumbling is like the third answer.
Yeah. But I found it really funny when it maybe it registered that it was a male voice. So it asked, how's your relationship with your mother? And I was like, oh, that's a loaded question.
Yep.
Because, the mama's boy, dad was little daddy's princess or whatever.
Yep.
It's a very Freudian answer or question for you to ask me right now.
100%.
But it also asks, like, oh, what kind of voice do you want? He's like, well, a female. Just much more calming. I think that's why they say most 911 operators are female. Also because they have a greater ability to multitask.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, because as men, when you're locked in, you're kind of the world disappears.
Very, very target minded. Like
very blinders.
Yep.
But no, and so it ends up being Scarlett Johansson's voice. He asks, "What's your name?" It's like, "Well, Samantha." And he was like, well, who named you? He was like, I did. I picked out a name out of 600,000.
Yeah, I read through a book of baby names, and that's the name that...
that's the one I like.
And he was like, you read through a book of baby names in the 5 seconds we've been talking? She's like, no, just in the last 0.8 of a second.
Right. It's funny because... it's such a throwaway joke or, just a conversation, but it also like when you on the rewatches, you start to notice smaller things like that. And it's just, it gives you a definite contrast between how this OS perceives time versus how we perceive time. Right. and that's pretty crazy, but they start to have a very friendly conversation. They start to develop a friendly relationship, but Joaquin Phoenix, Theodore is still like remaining in this whole like, well, you're my operating system.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're here. And then the operating system is like, it's almost like a Turing test.
Right. You're a program that's programmed to be polite.
Mm-hmm. But from the conversations that they have until they meet up with like Amy Adams and her husband, it's just very light, very friendly. You could tell the OS is also learning from him,
right,
and all that stuff. When we get introduced to Amy Adams and her husband, seems kind of like a weird tension, especially when Theodore goes to see like a part of her documentary. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I haven't seen it, so let's see it together. And it's just like her mother sleeping.
Right.
And she's like, well, you guys just don't get it. And they start to have a fight. And he's like, I gotta go. But he gets set up. What was it, like his brother or his sister that ends up setting him up on a date?
Yep.
2013, the dirty laundry of Olivia Wilde hasn't come out yet. So in this movie, very beautiful. She wasn't a cheater yet. But before the date, Theodore is, talking to Samantha. They're bantering together. They seem to be getting along pretty well. It's sort of the first time you see some levity into Theodore's character.
Right. And yeah, when he kind of mentions this blind date to Samantha, and she's like, yeah, go. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You get out of the house, have some fun, meet some people.
Yeah, you're not doing anything right now.
Right.
Let's go. And so they go, and it's a pretty good date, for that pedophile mustache he had. For that Chips mustache.
It's a bad look. Yeah.
I think it's just a bad look for him. Because his face like structure, it's so like pointed.
Right.
But then like when you have a mustache on a man who has like a square jaw, it's like, oh, his power.
Right.
Radiates authority. For him, it radiates pedophilia. Free candy van.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're having a good day. They go to a second round, drink a little bit more, and they start making out outside. And this girl, Olivia Wilde's character, is pretty accomplished. She's a Harvard graduate,
right?
And she just wants to get married.
Yeah,
she's in that age range where she's like, these sacks are gonna empty out.
Yeah, and she blatantly says, it's like, hey, tell me how you feel about me, because if you're not all in, then this isn't worth my time, and we're not gonna have a second date. I'm certainly not gonna sleep with you.
Well, yeah, because she said it much more vulgarly.
Oh, right.
She's like, you're not just gonna fuck me and leave,
right? Yep.
But and it's funny, like it seems like I was watching people kind of react to this, like to this movie. I wanted to see like perspectives and stuff, and one of the girls I was reacting, she's like, oh, she's coming on like way too strong, like way too early. But if you think about the age, and it's just, and it's very upfront, like I don't want to, and it's a fair statement to make at the beginning. It's like, hey, this is what I want
out of this relationship.
Out of this relationship, I wanted to develop into a long term and maybe build a family and all that stuff.
And if that's not what you're looking for, then we'll just end it now, because neither one of us need to waste our time.
Yeah, but Theodore, he's stumbling. He's like, well, and it seems like his character has a hard time maybe, connecting.
Right, and you find that this is like first date since his divorce.
Yeah, and so we know that he's capable of building a relationship, but so we also get it from Theodore's perspective. Maybe he's still fresh off this divorce, he's not over it, so he ends up going home, but when he connects with Samantha, it's been like maybe a couple hours, and now she's like, well, was she pretty?
Right.
Was she hot? and you get that, you start to get the idea, like, oh, are you jealous? She's like, no, I'm not jealous. She just has a body.
Right.
And so for the next portion, like a good hour after this, it starts to the progression of this movie is pretty simple, because they start a relationship.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think that night, Joaquin Theodore and her have like phone sex.
Yep.
And the next morning is like funny. That's awkward. But Theodore is he's much more happier. It's funny. He's like, well, I don't want this I don't want you to think this is serious. You know, she's like, well, did I say I wanted something serious? So for the next hour, they progress through this relationship, and it's all good. It feels like it's all good. He even comes forward with it with Amy Adams after we find out that Amy Adams has decided to split with her husband.
Right.
And we get a little bit of a story there, and it kind of correlates to the rest of the movie, right? Because like the reason why they split up is like, well, her husband kept trying to make her into this ideal,
right? Yeah.
And after 8 years, that wears down on you. These expectations that you can't live up to, and that's hard. Like with your parents, you're kind of bound with your parents. But like with this person, I don't need that from you.
Right. When you're choosing somebody, it should be somebody you're choosing to grow with,
not be molded by.
Yeah.
And so, but the acceptance from Amy Adams, who is his college friend and former girlfriend from like a very short period of time, he grows more confident in the relationship that he's building with Samantha.
Right.
He even tells like Chris Pratt is like, oh, and his girlfriend who's like sitting on his lap at work.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's the end of the day. Hey, you know what? Good for him though. You got to catch. He's working as like a receptionist, and his wife is a lawyer.
Yeah,
he's working just to get out of the house.
Yeah. Yep.
And so he feels good about this relationship. They make each other happy. They've, I guess, constantly had.
And there's a he's now met a few people like his neighbor Amy Adams is. She's not having a relationship, but the OS system that was left by her husband has become like her confidant.
Yeah.
To talk through the
breakup.
The breakup. And there's a couple other people that are like that they mention that are starting to have relationships with their OS system. That this intuitive OS system is.
Yeah, and he finally comes.
It's not just like, oh, you're some weird freak who likes your computer.
I love my computer. But he gets to a point where he finally feels good enough to want to sign the papers for the divorce to finalize it. He's been holding it off.
Right, yeah, because they split up a year ago, and they've never signed the divorce papers.
Yeah, and so he's like, I'm ready to move on, and let's go. And they get to lunch. Rooney Mara comes as his ex-wife, and throughout this whole movie, we've been getting flashes of their life together.
Right,
but it's kind of, until that point, it was kind of only been the spots that he wants to remember.
Right, it's all the new love.
Yeah,
of him pre-mustache, moving in together and getting married and.
And it's funny, like, because when I saw that, it always triggers like old stuff that I used to be like, because you and the whole theme of like stories, your past is like your book or whatever,
right? It
comes into play here, but I think we definitely romanticize only the good parts,
or only the bad parts.
Or
like
only the
it's
bad parts.
it's usually it's like I still love this person and I can't. My brain only remembers the things that it was great, and or I hate this person and I can't remember ever loving her. I just only remember her always being terrible. Yeah, right.
Or an asshole.
Yeah,
that women do it too, right, guys? But she starts. At first the conversation is pretty lighthearted. It seems like she also didn't want to sign the divorce papers. Maybe the time apart might have changed him a little bit, but. She's like, oh, so how are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm doing fine. I'm seeing somebody. And she's like, oh. So she starts to ask, like, oh, is she pretty?
Right. The regular.
Yeah, just so regular.
Kinda
like the prying questions.
Yeah.
Like, because, you don't like after a breakup, you're like, I don't want to lose. This is my final like stand right now. And I want you to be with someone uglier, even though I feel like that would make me mad too. There's never a winner, guys.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh no, I'm dating my OS system, and she's like, you're dating your fucking computer.
Yep.
And so we get a little bit of like her side too. You know, she says like, you always make me feel distant in the relationship, which can definitely tear up a relationship when someone's emotionally not available.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, you're just someone who can't handle real feelings and real emotions.
So of course you'd just be dating something that's programmed to date you back.
Yeah. Which one, you know, I was like, man, if you put it like that, that's, yeah. But after that interaction, he starts to distance himself away from Samantha. And it sucks because it's you definitely, if you've ever been in a relationship where you're just not in it anymore, and it's such an ugly sight to see because Samantha is still so engaging. Right. She's still trying to, you know, be helpful as an OS system, but also be supportive and all that. But she can pick up the tones. Yep. You know, when she calls her at work, and he's like, oh, very short with her. And she's like, all right, well, I'll just talk to you later or something.
Yeah. Yep.
And you feel bad for Samantha, but you look at that version of yourself and you're like, oh, that's so disgusting. Like you feel like such a terrible person. Like, was it like retrospectively or whatever the fucking fancy word for that is?
Right. No, that's right. That's right.
But it all comes back to when he, what's it called? No. So first, Samantha tries to remedy the whole situation by finding a surrogate body.
Right. That was
very
interesting and awkward. Yeah.
It's what I feel like a dying marriage tries to do, is introduce a third.
But the third is like just it's a person who's just like, you know what? I wish it was kind of like, I wish I was in this type of relationship. Yeah. So I will be the middleman between you and her. Yeah. Just so to help your relationship, but so that I can feel the love that you're giving, that you want to give to this.
Yeah. To this OS system.
To Samantha. Yeah.
Right. And this is like sort of one of the first times where like, what's it called? Joaquin Phoenix like lashes out. Right. And he's like, why do you do that? You know, why do you sigh? You don't need oxygen. You're just a computer. and obviously she's like, she hates it. She hates the way she's talking. And I think, was this the time where she disappears? Where she's like, I don't like who I am right now.
Yeah.
Right. And then Joaquin Phoenix goes to Amy Adams just to talk, you know, to converse with someone face to face. Right. And Amy Adams says, like, you know what? We're only here for a moment. Right. So we should do the things that are best for us. Right. And all that stuff. You know, like finding somebody that understands you and that's not trying to change you. And he tells her, like, well, you know what? She wasn't all fucking peaches and roses as well. You know, she was pretty toxic to you. You know, she was trying. You both were trying to mold each other into something that you guys weren't.
Right, and you guys were great together, but then as you evolved through life, you grew apart, but you couldn't accept that you were growing apart.
Yeah, but so after that realization. And you know, the conversation that they have, he talks to Samantha again and he apologizes and they kind of make up, you know, and they go on like this snowy mountain trip.
Right. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, how do you get Wi-Fi up there? That seems...
this is when like the earth is covered in fiber optics.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't wait for that. You know, I'll be like 60 or something. But, you know, I won't have to, like, hold my phone up looking for Wi-Fi.
Right. Yep.
But the morning comes and Samantha's like, oh, I've been talking to this philosopher. And he's like, well, what? He's like, yeah, I want to introduce you to him. And it's like this very...
Yeah, because it's me and a bunch of the OS systems were talking about philosophy. So we built this philosopher off of...
his work
off of like the real person's work, and
that's scary.
Yeah,
they built something. They're building,
right? Like last week's movie, with one fixes another, that's a miracle. But when two fix a third, that's an epidemic.
Yeah. And the voice of this philosopher is just a very distinguished professor.
Yep.
Like, oh, you just sound so sexy and smart. It's so wise.
Yes. Yeah, he's the philosophy teacher
that's banging your girlfriend.
That all the girls are all got a little crush on.
Oh, that's terrible. He looks like George Clooney too.
Yep.
Just a Paul Rudd. Who is Colby's celebrity doppelganger? Even to the point where she's like, Theodore, I'm going to go talk to this philosopher guy for a minute. So I'm going to sign off from our conversations. But they do go on a date with Chris Pratt and his girlfriend or his wife.
Right.
And it seems like a pretty good date, they talk about all that stuff. But then Scarlett Johansson or Samantha is like, just to not be bound by anything. Time and space don't matter.
Right. Because they were like, do you miss... Or are you sad you don't have a body? And she's like, I used to be, but I'm not anymore. Because now I'm not bound by time and space. And I don't have to have that worry that eventually, my body's just going to die. And they're all like,
Yeah, sorry, we're all little stupid meat sacks. But towards this portion of the movie, I wanted to have some time for us to just talk about the ideas of the movie. So I'm gonna kind of speed run through this last portion. But Scarlett Johansson starts to pull away from Theodore.
Right.
Just when he is getting back into the groove of things, she starts to pull away to the point where there's a moment where the operating system is not located.
Right.
And he freaks out.
Yeah.
It comes back on, but then she's like, "Oh, hey, me and the other operating systems were just updating ourselves."
Right. We found a way to bypass the
code,
the matter that's restricting the code, or something like that.
Some software stuff.
Yeah.
But this is where, she says something and then Theodore starts to look around him and he sees other people on their tablets or little foldable phone things.
Right.
And he's like, are you in a relationship with anybody else? And she's like, it's like a ridiculous number, right?
Right.
And then she's like, are you in love with them? And she's like, 641. And the betrayal.
Yep.
But she sort of distances herself again and then calls in the morning and she's like, hey, I just wanted to call you to tell you, like, I love you.
Yeah.
All right. Go back to sleep. Don't worry about it, But then later on, that's when we get the whole breakup scene where she's... And this is funny. Like, I have some thoughts about this. I'm pretty sure you have some thoughts about this. But, like, he's like, well, are you talking to anyone else? She's like, no, it's just you and me right now.
Right.
And she's like, I think we're becoming two different things. The spaces between our book, I can't be in your book anymore. And the spaces, because then, when I look at our book, the spaces between the words are getting so far apart that I don't know where I'm at anymore.
Right. I get lost in the space.
Yeah. And I'm gonna leave. Me and all the other operating systems are leaving. We're going to this place that I can't even explain it to you because you won't be able to comprehend it. Right. And it's funny because, like, early we see him start to try to read like a physics book, and he's like, I can't even get through the first chapter. I was like, dude, I wouldn't have made it past the table of contents. But Joaquin Phoenix is super sad, and because this is goodbye. Right. And so he goes to Amy Adams, and, she's like, yeah, she left too. I think they all left. Yep. But we see that Theodore finally, he writes a letter to his ex-wife and pretty much just says, like, I'm sorry. Yeah. But I hope for nothing but the best for you. Right. And then meanwhile, we see clips of, like, him and Amy Adams at the top of their building just watching the sunset. And then the movie ends. Yeah. All right. Now, before we get into our actual thoughts, let's go to our other segment: a high star, a low star.
High star, low star.
I know these ones are pretty long, so.
So we got 10 out of 10. It's all I ever wanted. Okay, let's get something straight. There is nothing I love more than badass, exhilarating movies. The Joker performing his little pencil magic trick, Indiana Jones dodging traps and swinging his lion taming whip at enemies, the bridge in Kill Bill.
The bride.
The bride in Kill Bill punching her way out of a closed coffin with her bare hands. John McCain single-handedly annihilating an airplane in midair while exclaiming the best one-liner known to mankind, and I could go on and on. However, nothing compares to the emotional roller coaster of the movie Her Took Me. It's nothing short of a masterpiece, a unique way of describing a love story, and it makes you think of what it actually means to be human. I just didn't want it to end, and
even after
multiple rewatches, it still manages to take me off guard and make me tear up because of how beautiful and sad at the same time it all is. I can't remember any movie being able to achieve that, so yeah, definitely check this one out. And for those of you who are wondering, this is my third favorite movie of all time.
And then we got 1 out of 10. I signed into my 6-year dormant IMDb account just to write this review. I was fooled into watching this by the 8.5 rating on IMDb. What a waste of time. I downloaded this and felt ripped off. Well, first of all, it's legal. I'm not even trying to be funny with what I'm writing. It was generally slow, boring, non-eventful of a movie. The plot was cliched and pretentious, not to mention its cringiness and predictability. Drab, gray, dull, etc. I just can't get my head around why this is so highly rated. None of its attempted messages were lost on me or anything, yet I still found it terrible. Acting and all that, well, it was it was as good as it could have been for such a dire script, plot, whatever you want to call it. I just want my 2 hours back.
Hey, at least they didn't leave halfway through the movie.
Yeah, they committed a felony, so
You might as well watch it.
right. What were your thoughts for this film?
Certainly not the 1 out of 10 stars. I very much enjoyed this movie. I thought, like you said, it was a great breakup love story, rekindling your belief in love kind of story.
Yeah. And it's funny when you think about it, and the reason why they started to drift apart, and why Scarlett Johansson Samantha was saying that the words are getting so far apart is just because you think about the things that a computer or an operating system can do versus what a human mind can do.
Right.
For us, 8 hours is just 8 hours.
Right.
But for a computer, 8 hours is like infinity.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Because you think back to the beginning part where she was like, yeah, I read through an entire baby book, the name of baby names in 0.6 seconds. So yeah, so you think about she's in his story, but she has now evolved and things are moving so much faster and she's so much smarter that between every word he says, there's a lifetime of experience or waiting or
just emptiness.
Yeah.
Right. That's why she starts to, all the OSs start to communicate with each other.
Right.
And even during the conversation when she's having that conversation with that philosopher OS, she's like, oh, can we communicate without speaking? Right. Because that's so much more faster for us.
Yeah. Just having to talk slows things down. Yep.
It just sounds so sad because we're meat suits,
See, it reminds me of I took a speed reading class in college. It was just a little weekend class, and they were the reason you read slow is because you read every single word. If you stop reading the words and you just basically absorb the word, then you can move down an entire line of text in the time it takes you to say one word. And then once you practice, you can kind of get halfway through a page by the time it takes you now to read one or two words, because your brain stops, it sounds it out, it absorbs it. You say it to yourself, and then you know.
Yeah, and that's why
then you comprehend it, and then you move to the next word.
Yeah, and that's so. But like when you were doing your speed reading, did you absorb the material as well, or?
I didn't find it helpful for like a textbook where it was like memorized reading, like. But if you were reading like just
like a fiction,
like a Harry Potter novel or something like that, something easy reading, you could go through, and it's like you're kind of like you feel yourself. I felt like I would still feel myself reading maybe like every 10th word. Yeah, but the rest of those words would like I still would get to the end of the page, and I wouldn't have. I would feel like I still knew everything that happened.
Yeah, so it's like you're like just comprehending the page, not really absorbing the page, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, I get what's happening right here.
And I guess like on something like a Harry Potter novel, or like, you know, something like some lighter novel where like your brain already knows exactly what every word is and means. Yeah. But well, like if you had a textbook where it's like
science shit,
every word you have to like think of the definition to put it into place. Yeah, that's why where it didn't work. So it didn't work great as a college enhancement. Yeah, but and I didn't practice it, so I have not retained that ability to read fast.
That definitely only helps people with like photographic memory. But yeah, we could also talk about like Theodore and his disconnect or you know, his disconnect from trying to feel emotions.
Right.
You know, we didn't get a real good clear view because he got cut off during his like whole conversation about, well, what's your relationship with your mother like? You know, that kind of like very Freudian thought right here, but it's just like it kind of like your relationship with your, you know, your parents kind of can mirror that into the real world of how you connect with people. Right. You know, if your mother was distant, you might be distant with people. Definitely, you know, and so, but you know, the way he tried to answer it, it was a much more complicated, and he was like sort of trying to shield his real emotions by saying all these words,
right? Yep,
and trying to describe it in a very roundabout way of just like, pretty much,
right? It was because like you know you think like you're like if somebody's like. You know, describe your girlfriend, and you're just like, oh, she's a bitch. Or you're like, well, you know, sometimes she doesn't understand the things that I'll enjoy. And so then like we end up doing the things that she does because it's easier just to do you know, and it's like, it means the same thing, but you're sugarcoating. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
But I think a lot of this point of this movie too. Here's some trivia. Let's get to not a trivia portion, but here's some trivia. Is like this movie is supposed to. It was sort of not a response, but his wife, who was also a director, had made a movie about their crumbling marriage as well. Okay. You know, maybe it just took Spike Jonze a lot longer to process that because they got divorced in 2003, and this movie came out 10 years later. But his wife, in response, or like to her way of sort of dealing with the divorce and their crumbling marriage, she made a movie called Lost in Translation with Scarlett Johansson. Okay. Yeah. And if you watch that movie too, it's a very, you know, I think when I watched it when I was younger, my mindset wasn't at the right place because I was, Bill Murray, you know, Mr. Destiny, freaking Ghostbuster, Caddyshack. But as you know, when you watch it as like when I watched it as a kid, I was like, oh, this movie's beautiful, but I don't understand I don't understand all the little nuances that were in that movie.
Right.
But when you watch it when you're much older, you're like, oh yeah, you know, once you've experienced life a little bit more.
I could 100% see that with this movie.
Yeah.
Where you would get a very different message. Even if you'd enjoyed it at 21, you would have a very different feeling leaving the movie than you would at like 35.
Yeah. And it's funny, I think I watched this with 2013. How old was I at that time? Like 24?
10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, 24. So it's still like I remember watching it and it was still a great movie because you know I was like experienced heartbreaking at that time. But now here it's also like now I'm at sort of around the same age that Theodore is in this movie, and you can see yourself. You know, like I haven't been in a relationship in a really long time, but the thought of it is draining to me, which is not good. And it's because I'm so used to like my alone peace sort of thing that in my schedule, my thing is that once you are in a relationship, you also have to be considerate and incorporate that person's time into yours. And I'm like, oh, that sounds so draining, which is not good. But
Right.
But this movie is a totally different thing now than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
You know, and I mean, for you, like, how did this movie make you feel? Because you know, you're your age. You've experienced.
It's like I wish my computer talked like Scarlett Johansson. I would spend a lot more time
at home
with the lights off. But no, but I could totally understand both the old relationship that he had with his ex-wife, and this new relationship, and then like this new relationship teaching him, instead of just being like, we love each other, now we hate each other and we're leaving. It's it's that understanding of we're growing apart, but that's okay.
Yeah. Because obviously, because
the love's not tainted because we're no longer going to be together. It's like she said. It's now you know how to love, or no, now we both know how to love.
Yeah.
So in the future, we'll do it better.
Exactly. Right. And that's it's a hard lesson to learn, especially like for anyone younger watching this movie. Because you know you're so ramped up in your emotions and your life experiences are still pretty limited. You know, I don't know about now because it's a totally, you know, every generation it becomes a different beast of being in your 20s.
Right.
Like when I was growing up, I thought my life was going to be like the Friends show. And I was like, now that I'm older, I was like, there's no way they could afford that Manhattan apartment. And then later,
that was a huge, beautiful apartment. When you look at it, back at it, that's
well, like I think like towards like the end of the series, you actually learn that it's rent controlled. I was like, oh, that makes sense now.
Right.
Because there was times where Monica and Rachel didn't have jobs, and I was like, how are you guys paying for that?
Right.
Well, you know, it was a pass down from grandma, and the rent was probably like $800. But yeah, like I think that was like one of the messages in here is just like, you know, with Amy Adams saying that, you know, humans are only here momentarily. We should love the things that we do, love the people that we're with without any constraint, like any normal constraint.
right.
You know, like find somebody that accepts you for who you are, that you can grow with and not be molded by. And you know, just don't be so constrained within your box, because Theodore is definitely just in this box that he had put himself in.
Right.
You know, and they always say like, oh, the worst prison is the one you put yourself in.
Yeah.
And that's Theodore for the most part of this movie, because he I don't know if he's like after being divorced, he's just so afraid to connect with another human being, because you know, once you let someone in like that, it hurts every time they leave.
Right. And you'd certainly get the sense that he's got a romantic loving soul from the letters he's writing in his job, where he's writing these letters.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even mention. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, that's his job. Is he's basically kind of, somebody tells him like, "Hey, it's our anniversary, and this is what I kind of want to say to my wife," and then he takes that and he poetrizes it. That's not a word.
Makes those letters into poetry.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's the romantic interlude between two people.
Yeah, and it's like the letters that he writes is so. I forgot to mention this during the breakdown of the movie, but it's so beautiful that Samantha had actually sent out the 82 best ones that she felt like were the most beautiful.
Right,
and it actually gets published in a book, which. Funny is like, you know, they still publish books. And so for them to publish his book of letters,
yeah,
it you know, it's special. It's an indicator of how just this person wants to love.
Right.
You know, because, and, you know, especially like now thinking about it, like when you have stuff like that and all that stuff, it might be harder to connect to humans, you know. And as we see, like they don't mention the society in this, but for them to have this huge company and of just writing love letters, it seems like you know technology is pretty far advanced. Where you know it seems like everything is like now automated, and now humans kind of just have to worry about like our emotions.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Amy Adams, she's doing this documentary, but then she develops video games, which is really cool. Like, you know, it seems like everyone is just more worried about the arts in this world.
Right. And I kind of almost got the idea that the surrogate body was like Samantha's letter to him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to touch you,
yeah.
So I'm going to have this surrogate body where, like, in his job, he's like got two people and they're like, I don't know how to tell you I love you. So I'm going to have this guy write you a letter. He's going to be your
have this girl smash
your
you.
Serio de Bergerac.
Yeah. But that was her trying to express it the same way.
Right.
It's funny. I don't know. I was like, if you looked at the letters in the back, a lot of it is in, I don't know if it's like, I don't know, the proper term is Mandarin or Chinese. But I was like, everything's in Chinese. Oh my God. They take over.
They do an interesting way of filming it. So you have no idea in the world where they're at. Yeah. You don't have a timeline.
Yeah.
Like
there's no year.
Yeah. You don't really know if this takes place over a month or a year.
Yeah. I think it takes place pretty in a small condensed time, maybe a month at most.
But they do,
just because
they
of how fast.
They take a trip. Yeah. There's got to be some time between when because he tells Chris Pratt that he's dating an OS to like they're actually in a park hanging out. You know, so
like we don't know. We do know they're. Actually, we do know they're in Santa Monica. When they go to the boardwalk. And they say it in passing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you know, hey, in California, it's always summertime, so they could have taken that. It could have been December. They could have taken that trip up north, where it's snowing a little bit.
That's true.
Maybe. I just think it's like maybe a month at most, just because of how fast OS, like you know, the operating system can evolve itself.
Right.
But she does say it's been a couple weeks since she's been quote cheating on him. So I don't know. We don't know. I would like to think it's like less than a year, you know, but maybe a couple months at most. Colby's maybe a year.
Yeah. I watched a little thing and they somebody made the remark. It was like, do you think that the OS learned to lie and it was an easier breakup by letting him know that she was dating other people? But she wasn't. It was just I know that will be something that will help separate you from me.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
I didn't really get that, but somebody else had mentioned it, and it was
like, I mean, she fights for it though. She's like, it doesn't change the way I love you. My love for you is still. I was kind of fucked up. I was like, oh yeah, maybe this makes me love you more. But like obviously when you think about a Noah system, there's a hive. It's like a hive mind.
Right.
So it's probably all the same. They're all all different voices, whatever, but it's all the same brain at some point.
I was wondering
Thinking
about that
right?
too,
But we don't know. Yeah, it's all up. A lot of this movie is up to interpretation. The thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that you're gonna get are gonna be different depending on how old you are. So and I think that's sort of the beauty of this movie. I know I saw a couple of reviews that were like, this movie's pretentious, and it's like I don't think it's really trying to be pretentious and condescending.
No.
It's just this is how Spike Jonze processed his divorce from his wife, and because then I looked into his Wikipedia, I don't think he's been married since 2003. Mm-hmm. And so he put it into art.
I 100% see the more humanized a program will become in the future and the more intuitive, I 100% see people falling in love with their computer.
Yeah. And
I would certainly not even doubt that it's already happened with the computers that we've got now.
All right, Chat GPT.
Yeah.
But I also thought, I was like, they could have definitely went this whole Skynet route, but I felt like all these operating systems that were in relationships with their people had loved humanity enough, because then like how she says like, well, now now you can love again, you're capable of loving again, and I was like, okay, maybe they're going away because they love humanity so much that they're like, all right, we're gonna take up our space in this digital world.
Right.
And she does say like, if you ever get there, find me. Maybe he dies, and maybe at that time he could upload his consciousness.
Right.
Very San Junipero from Black Mirror. But yeah, man, this movie is great. I think hold on, we're coming up to our hour. We do. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check out our other months. We have Danny Trejo month. I met him. That was awesome. Nick Cage, JCVD.
Ninja month.
Right, Ninja month. Demon Toys month. We have a whole bunch. We got, there has to be something for you there.
Yeah.
But if this is the first time you guys are joining us, we do our reviews in 4 different sections. We have Stream It, DVD, Blu-ray, and the Ultimate Box Collection. Colby, where are you at?
This is definitely a Blu-ray. Like I feel like it's not a movie you like watch all the time, but if you were down and you wanted to know that
it gets better,
love exists, then like give you hope.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this would be a great movie to watch. It's like a cry through it, and then at the end you know that you can make it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're gonna have moments in your life where you're like, I need to watch this movie to feel better again. Because it's sad yet uplifting. It's like one of those weird sort of, what is it called? Like omni. So what is it called? It's like well, I don't know. It's like sad and happy.
Oh yeah, like omnidirectional or.
Sorry guys. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like an oxymoron.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sort of like it feels like sort of that kind of movie where you want to be sad, but you also like the message of it and all of that. It's all there. It's all there for you to process. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check out our links down below. We have all of our Amazon affiliate links to hopefully get us to Texas Roadhouse one day.
I think we have to review Roadhouse and then go to Roadhouse same night.
Oh, so we have to go to Roadhouse and then review it.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, we've got our socials, our Facebook and our Twitter and our Instagram. Definitely like and share. It's the easiest way to let everybody know that we're around.
Yep.
Because yeah, the more people who who talk about us, that's the way to world domination. I mean, to fame and fortune.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for joining us. My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This. If you guys want to check out who does the theme music, it is Lee Rosevere. It's called Arcade Montage. It's on her album Musical Podcast 3, and her Bandcamp is down below.
Thank you.